Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon, students, and welcome to today's webinar, which is on performance management. That's the support for June 2024 session. So welcome to this one. I am Richa and I work as Education Support Manager at ACCA. As the title of the webinar suggests, manage your time, master your technique. So this session is designed to support you with taxation paper, where expert tutor Tze Kang will share his insights to help you prepare with your exam. So these sessions, they are an opportunity for you to hear experts' advice on best exam techniques and exam practice to earn more marks in June 24. This webinar will focus on how to deal with objective questions or constructed response questions. There will be lessons on time management as well, and the importance of question practice using practice platform and the best practices you should be having during the final 3 weeks before exam. So towards the end, we will also be picking selected very common but very important questions from the students that have been asked by them in advance while doing the registration for the session. And if time permits, we will also be picking a few of the questions live. So before I hand over to TK, I would just like to cover few housekeeping items very quickly. At the bottom of your screen, there are a number of buttons that you should use for yourself. There is a help icon which provides resources and information to help you resolve any technical issues you might experience. There are icons for the slides and media player. Please see that you have both of them during the webinar so that you can watch both of the things accordingly. There is an attendee chat function, so you can engage with fellow webinar attendees, but please be conscious that you should not share your personal details in the attendee chat. There is a resource list icon, that's like file symbol. If you click on this, you will be able to access the resources relevant to today's sessions, which includes quite a many direct links. You can rearrange your screen to suit you and resize the windows if you need to. And if at any point you cannot hear what we are saying or you cannot see any visuals, please refresh your browser. Registering for this webinar means you will be sent an email tomorrow with details of how you can listen to it again. So don't worry, if you miss something or you have any technical issues, you will be able to access the recording. I'm going to hand over to TK in a moment and we'll be back with you towards the end of the session. In the meantime, if you'd like to ask ACCA or TK a question related to performance management paper, please click on Q&A button, which you have already started doing. And but I would say just wait for some time, just see what we are trying to present to you, and then start putting your questions there. And please note, we cannot guarantee responding to everyone directly, either verbally or via web chat, but we hope that the questions we will be sharing will be helpful to everyone. With this, TK, over to you.
Thank you very much, Richa. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all from all over the places. By the way, just to have a quick warm up.
TK, over to you.
Mind?
Are you there?
Thank you. Yes, I'm there. Yeah, can you hear? Yes. Is everything fine?
I think there are some connection issues at the end of TK. He should be joining us soon. Just allow a minute.
How about now? Testing. Test. Is it okay? Can you hear?
We can hear you okay. That's fine. We can hear you.
In the meantime,
Great.
I would say please go to the resource section and see what all links are available for you there. Great. Just take a download of it so that you save time towards the end.
Okay. So I think is everything fine at everyone's end to hear me and see the sharing of my screens over here. So could you just give some response on the attendee chat if everything is fine at your end, students? Just respond in the attendee chat. That would be great. Is it fine? Richa, would I be able to start now? Myri?
Yes, you can proceed. We can hear you.
Okay, great. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evenings to all. Welcome to this live webinar for performance management for preparing the June 2024 examination. My name is Tze Kang Chan, the expert tutor for PM, and thank you very much for ACCA in inviting me to provide this a little bit of the support and advice to everyone at this crucial moment just before weeks to come for you to go for the big day on taking the exam in performance management. Well, I already can see quite a bit of the questions that is coming in from the Q&A and also the attendee chat. So keep putting in the questions that you have, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions, especially if you have questions for me to answer and take on. I would be able to pick up, and as long as time permits, I would be more than happy to answer all. But please leave your questions in the Q&A box instead of the attendee chat. Okay? So, as you can see on the heading and the title for this seminar or this webinar, it is not just about managing your time during the exam durations, but during the exam, what kind of techniques that you need to equip yourself with in order to maximize the chances to achieve the success in getting through such a challenging paper like performance management. So before we kickstart, allow me to just give a little bit of my own background. So I have been teaching the ACCA programs for more than 20 years in Malaysia and a few other countries in Africa and also in Asia continent. I am also the fellow member of ACCA as well as the member of the ICAEW. Currently, I'm leading the Professional Accountancy Center with one of the Australian-based university in Malaysia. So I'll be more than happy to share a little bit of my experiences on performance management to enlighten everyone and boost your confidence level towards your exam in June 2024 to come. In this webinar, there will be 4 main agendas that I will be covering for you. So first and foremost, as everyone aware that there are 3 main types or 3 main sections of questions which all are compulsories. So what are you supposed to do on section A, B, and C? From the Q&A, I could see a lot of us are putting a lot of focuses on asking how to deal with section C questions. I hardly see any questions about section A, section B. Now let me just remind all, do not forget the marks that are assigned to section A and B, it's more than half. So students should put equal level of attention, just like how much you emphasize on section C when you come to multiple choice questions in A and B. So with that, I would like to give out some thought and insights for you to consider, picking up some of the tips, some of the habits in dealing with section A and B in a more effective manner. Well, obviously, with these advices, it will then go on into how about managing your time, which is 3 hours or 180 minutes duration. Your chances of passing, it's very much depending on what activities that you are going to perform and carry out during the 180 minutes. And obviously, if things goes wrong within the duration, have you got an alternative plan? I would like to call plan B. And last but not least, so from now until the exam, what are the right things that you have to do, including how much emphasis and what are you supposed to do on things like questions practice at the practice platform? And what are the best advices for the last stage of the time, which I will call this as the final countdown. And of course, lastly, I will leave some time to take on as many questions that I would love to answer and clear your doubts before we end the session. Okay, let's take a look at some of the advices on answering section A, B, and C questions. I'm quite sure everyone would be well aware of the golden rules from the tutors, from all the learning resources by telling us the following message. Which is the sequence and what is the best sequence that you should be adopting in answering the questions is very much depending on your level of confidence in each particular questions. So therefore, it is kind of normal for everyone to realize that your confidence levels on certain questions will be high as comparing to some other that will be much lower. So this is therefore the sequence of you in attempting the exam questions accordingly. Now, we know this golden rule, but it is the matter of, do you know how to apply them? What do you mean by questions that gain highest confidence level in students? And what do you mean by questions that have low confidence levels among the students? So how would you be able to pick up and identify those kind of questions that follow this chart on the confidence level? So I will be showing you some of the different types of questions, and I will expect you to respond in the chat so that I would see the way that you move around on your own planning and your preferences over that. So let's take a look at the next one. First and foremost, before you think about how exactly that the sequence and the tactic that you should be adopting in handling questions in section A, B, C. Guys, I would strongly advise you to get yourself familiarized with the template or the display or the interface that you're going to get in your computer-based exam session, which is what you see on the screen. So the first things that everyone would expect to know is to get to know your tools that found at 4 corners in the interface during the computer-based exam. Top left, top right, bottom right, and finally bottom left. I'm not here to tell you what must you do on all the choices of options in this 4 corners, because there's more than one way that different students or different tutors would have given you different advices how to make use of these tools. Okay, as long as you are comfortable with the way you're going to use the tool, stick to that way and get yourself familiarized with your habit. Do not wait during the real exam, then only you are starting to explore and find out how exactly to make use of all these kind of tools. That is far too late, and you're going to take and waste too much of time in doing all these jobs that you should have done much earlier. If you were to ask me, Tze Kang, what exactly that you will be using if you are putting yourself in the shoe of a student, I'm telling you my habit. What I will be using, it's perhaps the one on the top right, the flagging function, and the one at the bottom right that navigates and jump and skip around questions at different sections. I will hardly make use of top left. Now, if you ask, how about the formula sheet at the bottom left? That depends on how familiar you are with formulas, calculations that appear in the syllabus of performance management. I would strongly suggest every student should well understood, remember all the functions and all the formulas that found in the syllabus, at least before the exam. Click at the bottom left in any of the past exam questions found in the practice platform. Take a look, what are the list of formulas in it? Make sure you figure out how exactly you're going to make use of each and every formula. Do you need to refer to the formula sheet if the questions come to the similar area that need those kind of formulas? You already should have an answer in your mind rather than just go and shop around in the formula list in the examinations itself. So again, these are all the minor habits that will help you to save up all the time that a lot of students would have wasted during the exam. And these are all the good habits that you should pick it up as quickly as possible to improve the quality of time management. Coming back to the 3 sections of the questions, which we have mentioned at the start of the session. On section A, as we all know, there are 15 standalone multiple choice questions over there. And of course, each and every questions will carry equal marks of 2. Now, I'm sure by looking at some of the sample exam questions in the practice platform, you probably will notice there are two broad types of questions in section A, namely the computational one and the narratives or the theoretical one. So if I pick one of the computational questions, which you can see on the screen right now in section A, so the questions to all is that, so what's the next step? What will you do when you take a look at the questions in section A? Which part will you read first? Do you start reading from the beginning or do you read from the bottom of it? So what exactly is your plan? Well, I will suggest you the following steps, which I would call 3 steps procedure that you may consider. Now, this is just a choice and just an options for you to consider. I'm not saying that this is the only and this is the best choice, but please consider this if after hearing what I say, you find it is worth giving a try. That is where the purpose of you taking some mock examination prior to the exam. So the first things that I would suggest you to do in a multiple choice questions, if I were to take a computational questions, for instance, guys, keep an eye on the sentence that printed in bold, and that is what we call the requirements. Know the requirements, what exactly is being asked. Then only, second step, go back to the top, take a look at the information given, understand the scenario, if especially it is a calculations questions. When you glance through especially numerical data, when you come across figures, that is where you start processing in your mind, how do you want to make use of those data to answer, to derive the figure that's required. Once you have figured out the plan, you already know how to go about to derive the answer, please jot down your working. Now, a lot of us would prefer to use the scratch pad at the top left that you saw earlier on. I would suggest you, as you may aware, every student who are taking the computer-based exam in skill examination will be provided with a few copies of scratch paper. I would strongly recommend you leave your working in the scratch paper when you derive this number, instead of just playing around the calculator and work out the answer by just pressing the button on the calculator. Even though without writing, you may end up getting the answer much quicker. You may also end up with higher chance of making careless mistake without you realizing. So I would therefore suggest show your working in the physical full scrap paper. And then from there, shows the answer if you have got the correct one. Should you did not manage to get the correct answer, with the time is running out, you have to go the other way around of guessing by eliminating the impossible ones, obviously. So that is exactly the sequence I would suggest students to consider thoroughly in tackling a computational type of questions in section A. How about another kind of computational questions, which before you take a look at it, this is exactly how the working papers that I will leave myself in the full scrap working papers provided to me. You are always fine to write any kind of abbreviation, coding, short forms that you will understand to yourself. But this is to ensuring you leave the audit trail for you to come back later before the time is running out to cross-check, to double-check your working, to confirm the answer of the choice that you chose. So that is what the kinds of habit I would suggest all to consider. Leave your working on the physical full scrap paper. If you're running out of paper, please raise the hand asking for a few more extra copy. These are the tools that you should be fully utilized of it. So as a result, do not forget to bring along your stationery, your pencil box, and your calculator, your scientific calculators to the examination. Let's take a look at the other type of the computational questions in section A, which is instead of giving you a choices, it is more like a space that you have to key in and enter in your numerical answer. So same thing applied, guys. Make sure leave your working in the physical full scrap paper as the audit trail for you to come back and do cross checks if times permit. So these are some of the advice and tips in dealing with Section A questions. Let's take a look at the other ones that we have over here on theoretical questions. So if you manage to get questions that is on theoretical, which you couldn't really get those kind of calculation on number crunchings, but you only get the theoretical questions. So what do you go about that? Again, if you refer to the examination rules, the scrap paper, it's always available in the exam. But of course, for any reasons, if the physical scrap paper is not available, you have to think about making use of the digital scrap pad in the top left corner. Leave down your audit trail. Okay? So let's take a look at some of the sample on the theoretical questions. Guys, don't try to stretch your eyesight to take a look at and read what exactly this question is all about. It is not intended for you to read and answer the questions. But what I'm trying to show to all of you is, if you take a look at the 3 boxes that are found on the screen now, there are 3 types of theoretical questions in Section A. The one that you found in the red line box on the left, and the one you found in the purple line box at the bottom left. Do you see that, guys? Try not to read what's in there. I'm asking you to keep an eye on the color of the line. Finally, look at the right-hand side. That is a blue line box. So these are the just 3 types of, I didn't say these are all the types of the pattern of multiple choice theoretical questions, but these are just some of it. Ask yourself, is there a difference between these 3 types of multiple choice theoretical questions? I'm sure your answer will say yes, there will be a difference on this. But the fact is that all the questions will get the same marks. 2 marks, basically. So ask yourself, remember a moment ago, we always say the golden rule is that attempt the questions where you have the highest level of confidence. Tell me, which questions that you think you have the highest level of confidence? So again, some of the students will say, TK, I need to take a look at what the questions is asking before I can answer your questions. Do you think so? Think again. If you take a look at the one in the red line box, which is on the left-hand side, red line, the questions is asking you to pick 2 of the following options. Whereas, at the bottom left, the purple line box, you are asked to pick 1, only 1, that is not likely to be the potential benefit of something. And the right-hand side is the blue line, where you have to pick more than 1 combination, place it in the gray area. So tell me, which one do you think you have the highest confidence levels? The red, if you think red, then you can just type red, or you can bring purple. You can just type P, or you can type blue in the box. Well, I can see different answers coming in. Great, I see more answer pick purple. Exactly, yeah, I will pick purple. You know why, guys? Because you are only asked to make 1 selection. Your chances of getting right is 25% of it. Do you think so? Which is the second one you will attempt? Which is the second one you will attempt? If you would attempt the second one, I will go for which color? Which color? I will go for the second one. I will go for the red. Because we are only asked to pick 2. You understand what I'm saying? Even though the chances of getting right is not as high as the first one earlier on, and the last one I will try, the last one I will attempt, which will take me most of the time, is clearly the blue line box of the questions. Imagine, if you place one of the combinations in the incorrect place, you will get 0 marks. There is no partial marks over there. So therefore, think over it. When you have different types of theoretical questions, which is the one you should give a try first? The answer is just like the one at the bottom left, which is called the single response multiple choice questions. Okay, so that is exactly what I mean in deciding the sequence of you tackling the theoretical questions in section A. So guys, now here comes a very simple question to you. Between the computational, between the number crunching questions and the theoretical questions, which one do you think you should attempt first? The theoretical questions or the numerical questions? Which one do you think you want to attempt first? Now, I would presume a lot of us would choose numerical questions because theoretically and logically speaking, a lot of us likes number crunching and calculation. Am I right? Am I guessing? I'm telling you, it is something that is worth for you to consider. I may want to choose the theoretical questions first to attempt, then the calculation or the numerical, simply because of something I'm going to show to you in a moment. Okay, but again, there is no right, there's no wrong, and I'm not saying that this is the only way that you must follow. I'm just giving you some choices of thought to think over the strategy that you should be adopting itself. Okay, so as usual, even it is a theoretical questions, just remember to go through the 3 steps I shared with all. Read the requirement, and obviously, if there is a scenario, read the scenario. Lastly, read all the options carefully to make a selection wisely. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the advice in tackling section B, multitask, or I would say a mini case multiple choice questions over there. Well, it is kind of common. Every set of 5 MCQ would come with a short story, just like the one you see on the screen. Well, I have just picked up 3 of the sample multiple choice questions pertaining to the section B questions, okay? Again, it is not meant for you to crack and stretch your eyesight to go and take a look at what's the questions in here and try to answer. Now, this is not my intention, okay? But if you take a look at the 3 red line boxes, the top seems to be the calculations questions, numerical question. The second is asking you to select 3 of the combination. The last one is asking you to pick 1 of it. Again, you should always read the requirement of all the 5 questions before you take a look at the storyline. After reading all the 5 requirements, you at least will know and have an idea what exactly is that you have to produce the answer. So then, when you go through the storyline on the left-hand side, the scenario, especially when you come with numbers, numerical data, I would strongly suggest you to remember what are the computational tasks that you have to perform. Take, for example, if you look at the first questions on the top, what is the annual capacity of the bottleneck activity? I'm pretty sure you should remember this task. So when you take a look at the storyline, when you go through the number, you should start getting ready yourself to write down your working in the scratch paper. Try to put down your working in the scratch paper, just like the same habit I shared with you in section A. Write down your working when you go through the storyline. Then come back to the choices of answer, choose the choice if you manage to get the correct match. Then only you try to tackle the theoretical questions. The idea is very simple. I do not want to read the questions 2 times, 3 times, and 4 times. So I ended up spending all my time in just reading the story. Guys, do you have this kind of habit? Do you come across this kind of situations if those of you who have taken this exam before? That is where your time is all wasted. Try to optimize your reading time. Ideally, when you read the first round, you already should start gathering all the number and put down in your working form to work out the questions that is asking on numericals tasks. Once you glance through the storyline, you should be clear about the background story, and that is where you should be able to answer the theoretical questions. So that is where it goes. But whatever it is, the 3 steps that we shared a moment ago are still applying in section B. Then we should take a look at section C, the constructive response questions. Well, that is where, guys, I have seen a lot of questions coming into us before this live webinar. So I'm trying to clear as many questions as I could at one go. So please keep your ear and keep an eye clearly on what I'm presenting on the next couple of minutes for advices in dealing with and tackling section C, constructive response questions. Now, as you know, there are 2 main types or 2 questions that you will have in section C, okay? The one that you see on the screen, it's from the most commonly tested area. So what exactly is this questions all about? Guys, if you take a look at the requirement, you probably will recognize this area or this section C questions is on performance measurement. Again, try to follow the 3 steps which we have shared a moment ago. Step 1, always go back to the requirement. Please read the requirement. Now, this time, please read it very carefully by picking up the verb. So if you look at part A, the top boxes, the top box at the right-hand side, what is the verb, guys? It is asked to assess, assessed, appraised, evaluate. It will carry the similar kind of expectation. So we are asked to assess. What do you have to assess for? Go further. You will know what are the tasks to be responded. Verb always followed by task. Assess what? Assess financial performances. Okay? So that is the kind of job that you're going to be doing at step 1. But guys, can you please keep an eye on part B, the bottom part of it? Now, if I were to ask you the same question, what is the verb? It is still assessing. But assess what? At this time, you are asked to assess the quality of the services that TIP provides. Now, other than picking up the verb and the task, I would like to draw your attention when you take a look at part B of the requirement. Do you notice these 2 words which indicated with the 2 different color of the arrow sign? And guys, keep a very close eye on the word and when you come to section C. Because when you have an and, it means that it is likely to have 2 responses that you need to put it down in your answer. And how do you tell the task after the and, is it continuous from the first one or is it a separate one? If you take a look at the red color arrow shows the first and there. And any other relevant data. Guys, do you see the words there? So you ask yourself, and any relevant data. Is there any verbs there? Is there any verb like evaluate, discuss, or assess? The answer, no, there isn't any words there. So when there's no verb, what does it mean? The verb is sharing with the first ones at the beginning, which is also asking you to assess. Yeah, it's a continuation. Very good, yes. So they are asking you to assess the quality of the services using table 1 and then using other relevant data. Take a look at the other end in purple color of the arrow. This time, what do you notice, guys? Do you see a verb over there? Yes, there's a verb, and the verb is indicate. So that is another part of the task that you have to respond. So this is what I meant by step 1 when you pick up the task in section C. Guys, if you fail to understand what the task is, it is kind of difficult. It is kind of difficult for you to imagine how would your answer look like. It would be no idea for you to think about how to plan out your presentation of answer. So until your step 1 is done, then step 2 comes in. Read through the scenario, pick up the clue, pick up all the relevant facts, including figures, and try to organize in your mind how are these figures going to be used in responding to the task that you picked it up a while ago. Finally, try to think about your answer plans. How does your answer going to be look like? What is the template of your answer? And make sure your imagination on the answer framework should look professional. So what do I mean by that? If you take a look at how I will plan for my answer template before I start typing out my full answer, for part A, you will notice this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. Okay? In part A, I'm asked to assess the financial performance. So what I will do is that when I read through the information under step 2, I will pick up this kind of new information, which is the clue that I found in the scenario. So I will pick up this kind of key wording and try to put it down into my response option, which is the words file that you see on the screen right now. So the moment I create this heading, guys, what do you notice? I am turning a blank piece of paper to a template so that I will be ready to start filling in the content of the findings. That will automatically make your answer much more structured and marker friendly. That is what we call marker friendly answer layout. Same thing applied to part B as well. We know these are the tasks that we have picked it up just now. You will be able to come up with these headings. Do you see that? So look at how I convert the requirement above and turn into this kind of headings. So that again will turn my Microsoft Words response option into a template. My job is to look up for content and clue, fill up the blank, and I will get my answer presented in a paragraph manner with clear heading. Guys, this is what I meant by a marker-friendly answers. Okay, so that basically will show you how will your answer looks like in section C. If you want to know how about Excel, how do you plan a marker-friendly answer layout for calculation? I have an answer for you guys. Please spend some time to attend the pre-June mock exam. After attending, please watch the debrief video. I have got the solutions for the computational questions in section C. Okay, so again, what I have been doing just now are still the 3 steps. So section A, section B, section C are just 3 key steps for you to follow to come up with a more systematic way in tackling the exam questions throughout the whole of performance management exam paper. Let's take a look at some of the advices for you guys on how do you deal with and managing your time. Now, I am pretty sure most of us who are listening now would perhaps follow this kind of time allocation strategy. You are cutting down the 3 hours or 180 minutes evenly across 100 marks. So I think that you will probably be practicing spending 1.8 minutes per mark. So on average, if you are tackling a multiple choice questions of 2 marks each, you will spend about 3.6 minutes to attempt 1 multiple choice questions. Am I right? If you spend your time on tackling 1 section C questions with 20 marks worth, you will spend about 36 minutes on each of the section C. Now, again, I'm not saying this is wrong, okay? But I'm going to tell you another possible strategy, which I call strategy 2. Take a look at this. Look at this. I would suggest you cut the 3 hours into 2 parts. The first part takes about 2.5 hours, which I will consider in between 150 to 160 minutes approximately. So you spread this time across 100 marks. You therefore will get about a minute and a half and 1.6 minutes per mark. Please spend this allocated time to attempt each and every question according to the level of confidence based on what I have shared with all of you a moment ago. If you follow this time, when time is up, whether you manage to attempt all or you haven't managed to attempt all, leave it and move on. remember, it is always easier to say than done. Leave it and move on. You got to practice, you got to rehearse until this becomes your habits, okay? The reason I'm asking you to do this kind of planning on the time is because when you reach to the end of the time allocated, 150 or 160 minutes, do you notice you still have some buffer? You still have the margin of safety, which I saw some of you have quoted in the attendee chat. Well done. Yes, exactly. What do you do with this buffer? This is the time for you to go back and complete the incomplete tasks. And this is the buffer for you to do double check. Now think, if you follow strategy 1, where will you have a buffer to do double check? So you need to allocate some buffer time to do this part, which I therefore gave you an alternative, which is strategy 2. Guys, I'm not saying that everyone must follow strategy 2. Choose whichever strategy that you find it best fit for you and stick to it. Rehearse the strategy a couple of times until you can get over it, until everything is just within your control. No matter how many times that you take the exam, you can just apply the strategy according to what it's supposed to be. That is the purpose of rehearsal, which we call practicing the mock exam under the practice platform. Okay? All these plans will work only when you have the ability to stick to the plan, execute the plan according to it. As such, here are the golden rules. If you want to ensure that you are able to go by the plan, please make sure your behavior must be as rational as possible. Do not let your emotion override your rational behavior, which I know a lot of us tends to be nervous, stress, and emotion, whether it is overly excited or overly anxious by looking at the questions and the surprises you get. Try to learn how to control your emotion and let the rational behavior override and take the lead and control your whole behavior throughout the exam. So how do you make sure and how can you practice to behave rationally? These are a couple of tips for you guys in managing your time. Always learn to stick and adhere to your time allocated, and whichever way you do, okay? So that is basically what you have to do. Now again, I know some of us will say, well, how do we do that when panic take over? Well, I would say to you, the reason why you get to be panicked is because you haven't got enough rehearsal. If you have got enough rehearsal under time constraint, you will be able to minimize your elements of panic. You will be able to learn how to reduce and minimize your emotional behavior and influences. And always remember, do the right thing at the right time, okay? Do not spend too much of time in just shopping around, reading around all the information, but not doing something fruitful. Always follow the 3 steps, which I have mentioned and suggested a moment ago. Try to prioritize your scarce resource, just like the way you did your limiting factor decision making. We always learn to maximize our contribution per limiting factor. Guys, would this be familiar to you? I'm using the same mindset to tell you, when you come to time management, trying to do something according to this principle. Do something, spend your time on the part that you can earn most marks. So just think over it. That is exactly why do I recommend on the sequence based on what I have suggested and demonstrated a moment ago. Okay? Last but not least, as I have mentioned to you a moment ago at the start of the webinar, always need to have a plan B, a contingent plan. Now, Mr. Chan, what exactly is the contingency plan that you have for us? Well, there is more than one contingent plan, but I can tell you your contingency plan is ultimately to ensure you survive with 50 marks. So what do? Go hope around when you leave with the last 20 or 30 minutes. Remember the buffer time I showed to you a moment ago? That is the 20 to 30 minutes for you to hope around, get easy mark. Try to secure those kind of easy mark to ensuring you are close enough to the minimum line of passing. That is what we call contingent plan. But if you ask me, ideally, I don't need a contingent plan at the first place. If I can do well on the second bullet point, which is do the right thing at the right time. And all these things will work. Guys, trust me, all these things will work when it's in your to-do list from now until the exam, which is questions practice. Well, here is the first pool for you to respond. Can you please choose which one best describes you at this moment? Please take the time, choose the one, and submit. I'm waiting. Do we have one? Okay, so on my count. Yes, be honest respond. Okay, give it a try and try to respond on this. Yeah, very good, very good. So, count down to 3, 2, 1. Very good. I have got more than half who responded. Very good. So I can see that more than half of us do make use of the practice platform, which you get a thumbs up. Okay. Apparently, the one who just occasionally come to the practice platform, you have the room, you have the work to do, and make sure you put in more time on the practice platform. Of course, for those who haven't really practiced on the practice platform, please do it before it is too late. I can say that, okay? Practice platform is far more than what you just imagine, just a normal Microsoft Word or Excel. Please go and explore more, discover more before the real examination, okay? Well, here's the golden rule that I always tell the students. The more effort, I won't say the more time, but the more effort you spend on the practice platform, your chances of getting through the exam is always higher. Okay? So, how exactly is that? Students will ask, what is the best practice for you to practice the questions on the practice platform? Okay, that is my suggestion. And I know a lot of us would say, Mr. Chan, I think all the webinar will tell us to spend time to practice the questions on the platform. Yeah, I will agree that. But I'm giving you something extra. I'm telling you, when you practiced, try to make sure you follow the cycle, okay? Before you pick on the question, make sure you do your stuff, revising your work. Then you practice the questions on the platform. Make sure you time yourself, okay? After attempting the practice exam with the time allocated, please spend time to mark it and review your answer. From the review, pick up the area, the room that you're going to improve. Once you know the area to improve, please revise the area that you're weak at. Then only you pick the second round of the practices. Guys, you only will see improvement when you go through this cycle in your questions practice. Do not just keep practicing without reviewing your work. Do not just keep practicing without changes. If you just keep practicing, you are likely to repeat and inherit your same mistake and weaknesses. You got to change it, remember. Anyway, that is what I would suggest you on the questions practice. From now until the exam, the judgment day, what are the things to do? I would suggest you draw up your own balanced scorecard. Try to manage your own balanced scorecards by focusing on your technical knowledge and try to buckle up, get yourself familiarized with your exam techniques, get yourself familiar with the habits that I have mentioned a moment ago, and let's not forget about take care of your mental health. But that is how you take care of your rational behavior to conquer your emotional behavior. And last but not least, please do not just focusing on study, but go out and get sweat with the physical health as well. Okay, so these are a bit of my detailed advices on what are you supposed to do on the technical knowledge. Now, I would like to draw a little bit of your attention from some of you that asked the questions. In terms of learning, sir, what am I supposed to do? Some of you asked, would study hub be sufficient for learning purpose? Now, my answer is, if this is the first time that you take up this exam, study hub is insufficient. you need to rely on official books, textbook, or your course note from the tutor. Those are more comprehensive. But if you are the repeaters, yes, Study Hub will have given you a quick recap of all the highlights in the subject matter. But let's not forget about, other than your textbook, your learning material from the tutor, do not omit technical articles and topic explainer videos. Those articles and topic explainer are the cream of the essence in certain part of the syllabus. So those are the things you should do in enhancing and boosting your technical knowledge. Exam techniques, habits, I have already mentioned more than enough a moment ago, how to go about to brush up and shape up your habits and technique. And last but not least, your mental health and physical health, please keep an eye on those. I have seen too many students got last-minute panic. It's all because of, number one, your technical foundation is not robust. Your exam technique, your habit is not properly built. And that's where the panics will start coming in. Once you have done well on the first two, then mental health and physical health will come in as a booster for your confidence level. And here we go. I have mentioned about mock exams. Have you got any ideas when exactly the pre-June 24 mock exam and debrief video will be released? You may want to pick a choice. That will draw your eye to keep an eye on what exactly the mock exam that you can look after, especially based on the advice I have given a moment ago. Can you choose and respond based on what you know? Okay, on my count of three. Any more response? You have any idea when exactly is the mock exam be available and the debrief videos will be available for viewing? 3, 2, 1. Great, great. I think that most of us have got the attention right. You know what exactly the date for the mock exam release, which is already released 2 days ago. Guys, it's time for you to put your feet down, try to rehearse based on the advice and the habits, especially the time management I have shared with all a moment ago. Make use of the mock, give it a try, feel it, and let's see what exactly you want to do it on the real exam date itself. Okay, for those of you who don't know, the answer is on 13 May. That is where the mock exam is already released, and the video for the debrief content is available for viewing on the 17th of May. All right, you can get the access to the mock exam through the practice platform. Okay, so time for me to take on some questions, which I already have addressed some of the questions already. A moment ago, I'm responding to some of these pre-selected questions to you. Okay, so here we go. Some students is asking how to answer the constructive response based on the marks awarded. So the students is quoting the examples. If the requirement is awarded with 5 marks, so how long should the answers be looks like? Well, my answer for you, guys, we're not judging by word count. We're judging by, first, did you answer the questions completely? Did you fully develop an explanation? When you explain on something, did you fully develop your explanation? So that will be the basic rule and the golden rule that you have to remember. But what I can tell you is, for written-based questions, for narrative questions, if you are having 5 marks, the first thing you're going to ask yourself, out of 5 marks, how many marks do you want to grab it? Now, obviously, some of the ambitious students will say, I want to grab 5 out of 5. Yeah, you are okay to say you want to get 5 out of 5, but ask yourself, is this target practical? Can you achieve that? If you couldn't achieve that, why not you set your target to be something that is more practical? You may want to get a pass, but you want to get a little bit higher than passing. So maybe I want to get 3 out of 5. So if your target is 3 marks out of 5, you should aim to provide 3 good points. On the assumption, 1 point with 1 fully developed explanation will get 1 mark. So how long do you have to write for 1 fully developed point? I would say perhaps it's about 2 sentences. When I say 2 sentences, means about the first full stop is 1 sentence. The second full stop is another sentence. Maybe you need about 2 sentences to fully develop an explanation to gain 1 mark. So that is what I can tell you. Take a look at the debrief video. You will see what I mean by that. The second question, how do we improve our writing skill in section C when there's no mentor? Yeah, I totally agree with you. So my suggestion is, please spend time to take a look at the articles on PM. Especially, there are some exam guidance or exam strategy or exam techniques right up. These exam techniques right up are from examining team. They will tell you what you need to do. Not to forget to mention, please spend time to read examiner report. The examiner report will tell you what are the do's, what are the don'ts. So those are the good enough guidance that all the students from all over the world should always make full use of it. So this is where you get it from the source, from the examining team. What best can you get other than this kind of documents? Guys, do you agree with me? Third questions. In section C, questions which syllabus that you will carry greater significance. Well, I'm supposing you are asking me what kind of questions will you get in section C. I already have answered first half. One of the questions is definitely from performance measurement. If you refer to the syllabus booklet of PM, performance measurement falls under syllabus E. How about the other questions on section C? The other questions on section C will get it from syllabus area A, C, and D. A, C, D. Take a look at the syllabus, you will know what is A, C, D refers to. But in general, the other questions usually will come from decision-making, budgeting, and control. Control means things like variances analysis would have come in. Okay? Next questions. I need help on how to master variances. Well, that is a very commonly seen question, obviously. Well, I can say there's more than one way for you to understand the mechanism of why variances calculations is in such a way, number one. Number two, there's more than one way for you to present, for you to remember the formula of variances. There's more than one way. If you want to know my way of recommending you, how do you get the logic of the variances? I have 2 suggestions for you. Number one, go to the article and topic explainer page on PM, look out for a topic explainer video titled Variance Analysis. That video is produced by me. You will see how I present the formula and presenting the working on the variances as your reference, as one of the way you may consider. The second tips for you to get an answer of how to master variance, attempt the mock. Watch the mock debrief. You will see how I construct the framework to deal with the calculation and interpret the variances. Okay? Next questions. What should be the right strategy to attempt the paper? I love this. There's no one answer. Students may start from A, followed by B and C. I would suggest you go back, think twice. You may want to consider start from section C. This is the question that you may have highest chance to get marks if you follow the step of advice a moment ago. Second part, try section B. You would spend your time to read a scenario, then this time you spend will allow you to potentially tackle 5 MCQ. So you do not need to spend too much of time in reading different scenarios. I will leave section A last. One of the advice for you to consider is start with C, go for B, last is A. That is one of my advice. Other than one of the advice is A, B, C. If you want to know which one suit you the best, rehearse yourself by taking a couple of mocks in the practice platform. You have practice exam 1, practice exam 2, specimen exam, and pre-June exam. These are the questions that come with full set of section A, B, C. Let's not forget about If you want to get additional practice on section A and B, please take a look at your examiner report. Your examiner report would contain, every examiner report will have 4 additional section A MCQ and 5 additional questions on section B. That is your additional source of questions practice. Okay, I have answered the last questions for you on the study hub. Well, I suppose with that, we have enough time to take care of most of the questions that's sent to us and also the questions in the chat box. I'm trying my very best to answer most of it. So last but not least, I wish everyone best of luck in the coming examination, and I hope this webinar will help you to have a game changer outcome in the upcoming exam. All the best. Take care. Over to you, Richard.
Thanks, TK. Am I audible now? Am I audible to you?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, TK, there are quite a few questions in your inbox. So I just want to ask one question here. Like, if you can just reiterate on a few important points where students may like to know that how they should prepare their PM paper in the remaining days. I know we have talked about the remaining 3 weeks as well in the session, but still, if before closing, if you can just put some ideas onto it.
So let me just give a last piece of advice to all. The last couple of days on the final countdown, remember, first things first, spend whatever day you have now. I would say cut it off into 3 pieces, okay? You spend about 10 to 20% of your time remaining, 10 to 20% of the time remaining to spend time in buckle up, recapping your technical knowledge based upon study hub, technical articles, topic explainer video. If those of you who are weak, you may want to spend up to 20 to 25% of your remaining time. But those of you who are technically strong, 10% would be good enough. Then spend the other half the time, 50% of the remaining time on practicing the questions, rehearse the question, ideally based on the full set of questions, section A, section B, section C. Do not forget to try those section A and B questions that found in the examiner report. Those are very, very useful and difficult questions to students, okay? The last couple of percentage of the time, do a lot of mental rehearsal and try to spend time to calm yourself down and go and do exercises. So this is what I would suggest you to chop it off into these couple of compartments on the time remaining for the final countdown before the exam day comes. Over to you, Richard.
Thanks, TK. I will just like to give you 1 minute more trouble into this. Is it okay if we can just extend it with 2-3 minutes and you can just scroll down quickly onto your inbox and see if anything in particular has come which we may not have picked up something quickly, if you can just have a look.
I would probably just remind all, it seems that a lot of students are kind of worried about these examinations. So rest assured, whatever I shared today, it is all recorded. Please go back and watch this on-demand video. Once we ended this session, you can always go back and watch this video and spend some time to think through all the steps and all the habits I mentioned to you. You've got to give yourself a try on those kind of habits so that you can really see the influence and the change in you, okay? Now, if you ask me what are exactly the kind of topics that will be important, as I say, Section C, you know what is the area that you will get it already, okay? As for Section A and B, anything in the syllabus will be possible to be appeared. And some of you even ask, will the pre-June mock exam be like the real exam questions? I would say to you, style, pattern, combinations of questions type, yes, it is just like how the real questions is. But would these be exactly the kinds of questions in the real exam? No. Okay, so the real exam questions could be on some other syllabus area, but rest assured, it is all within the syllabus guides that we will follow strictly. Okay, so that will be my last piece of advice itself. Any more?
Thanks, TK. That's wonderful. No, it's fine. Thank you so much. I know that we are running quite very fast, and we need to bring things to a close. So I hope all the students have found this session very useful. As I said earlier, there were some technical issues as well in the beginning, but I was mentioning that please do go to the resources section and check out the links there, and every information you will get there. And do watch out the recording of the session. As TK has mentioned, he has covered almost quite many things in this session, which will help you in your exam preparation. So with this, thanks everyone. Thanks TK for giving time to ACCA and ACCA students. And thank you so much the team behind this session who are working continuously to help us deliver this. Thank you so much, all these students. Wish you all the very best, first of all, with your preparations and then for your exams. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.